Hey, hey, hey! Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to the Daily Dose of Mind Stuff. This is Ed Reiner. I am Ed Reiner, and I want to welcome you to the show. So, we are on day 68 of 100, and we are showing session 18. Yeah, gotta look quick. 18 of the Born Rich program. And yesterday we were talking about, Bob talked about the terror barrier and went into, it was about risk-taking and the terror barrier. And he went through that whole process that we all go through when we step out to do something that is not of our normal behavior. We entertain a new idea, which he calls a Y idea, and that creates a chaotic vibration because we're normally having an X idea, X conditioning, X type results. And when we mix it with the Y and bring in that new idea, we get a foreign vibration, a chaotic vibration that immediately we have doubt, worry, fear, anxiety that flush in through our nervous system and send us back into the comfort zone, or as Bob was saying, bondage. So he went over how we break through that. When it's through understanding, it's through study. It's through studying these ideas, the repetition of this information. So today we're going to go over the John Canary, I believe. It might be both of them. We'll find out. The razor's edge. So there's just a very fine line between success and failure. It's so fine, it's a razor's edge. And that's what Bob's going to go over today. So, or John. We will soon find out in a minute. So let's pop over there, and I will be back for a quick recap. So get ready to take some notes, and I will see you in a minute.
We're going to talk about the fine line between winning and losing. And as it says in your book, it's just as fine as the razor's edge. So let's give John a warm welcome so he comes up to lead us through this next lesson.
Turn over to the razor's edge on 53 at the top. You see the razor's edge. How many people had the opportunity to see the razor's edge? There was two movies, the old one, then the new one. I believe Don Murray played the part in the recent movie. Bill Murray, so, thank you very much. You know, it's interesting in that particular movie, it's pretty well the story of someone trying to find the meaning to life, the meaning of success. And he ended up in the Himalayas there talking to some great guru. And as he got away up in the mountains there, he met Shirley MacLaine on the way, had a conversation, and he went on, continued on. And, you know, as he met this here great master, he asked him, you know, what is the secret to life? Well, what is this thing all about? What is the difference in winning and losing and success and failure? And I'll never forget, you know, the analogy went something like this. He said, you know, there's a big path going down here, he said, along this mountain. And he said, the path is very, very small. And as you walk, you can tilt this way, and as you walk, you can tilt that way. But he said the person that gets to the other end, they're walking a path that is as fine as a razor's edge. So the real difference in winning and losing, he said, is as fine as a razor's edge. You know, last night I just watched something that we may never again watch in an entire lifetime, when Gibson came to the plate. You could feel the excitement. And it was master against master. Eckersley against Gibson. Now, you know what's most interesting about Gibson coming to the plate? Why would anyone expect Gibson to hit a home run at that time when he has probably the lowest batting average in the playoffs in this series of anybody on that team? Well, you see, Gibson will do what he has to do when he has to do it. You think about this. Do you know that the people who come to these seminars the most are the ones who need it the least? The ones who do not come are the ones who need it the most. Now, the real razor's edge difference works this way for you and for me. Many, many years ago, there's a great story told about a guy named Charles Schwab, who was the president of Bethlehem Steel and eventually put together the package called U.S. Steel. And he was approached by a guy named Ivy Lee. Ivy Lee walked in. He said, Mr. Schwab, I believe that we have an idea that could dramatically increase your business, he said, beyond where it is. And the most interesting thing about that is that when Schwab said to him, well, we already know what it is we should be doing, but if you can show us a better way of getting it done, we'll listen to you and pay you anything within reason. Well, Ivy Lee took out a sheet of paper and he started to write on it. And he said, now I want you to get out a sheet of paper. Now he said, what I'd like you to do, Mr. Schwab, is write down the 6 most important things you have to do tomorrow. Schwab did as requested. Now he said, first thing tomorrow morning, I want you to take out that list. And he said, you'll have them numbered in priorities. Priority A, B, C, D, E, F, G, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now he said, I want you to work on number 1. And don't go to number 2 until you complete number 1. He said, then you try the idea, put it to work for 60 days, send me a check for whatever you think the idea is worth. 60 days later, Ivy Lee received a letter stating that the lesson had been the best he had ever learned from a business point of view. And he enclosed a check for $25,000. Now I want you to write down the 6 most important things you have to do tomorrow. That could be the razor's edge difference for you. Now you put it to work and in 60 days you can send me a check for $25,000. But you see, there is such a small difference in the people that are actually coming up with the results versus the people that are not getting the results. What is the difference in person B and we'll say person A? What is the basic difference? I mean, they both have, we'll say, the same aptitude, same education, maybe come from the same neighborhood, may work in the same company. They may have even gone to the same schools. But it seems that person A, they just keep on achieving, even though they have great adversities. But person B never really gets off the launching pad. What is the basic difference in these two people? Well, I believe it's the razor's edge. That there is such a fine line that separates people. Now, I want you to consider this. Wade Boggs was the leading hitter in the major leagues, in the American League in the last season, and perhaps for the last 5. He ended up with a batting average of about .358. The person who was the 10th highest hitter in the major leagues was somewhere around .301. What is the real difference in Wade Boggs and the person who was in 10th place? Consider it. For every 10 times that Boggs goes to bat, he gets 3.58 hits. The person who is hitting .301 out of 10 times at bat gets 3.01 hits. The real difference in these two people is not even a half a hit for every 10 times they go to the plate. But Boggs is earning $1.7 million a year, and I noticed the 10th place hitter was earning about $280,000 a year, even though there's a small difference in the number of hits they get, less than a half a hit. The difference in income is absolutely phenomenal. You go back to a day when the greatest base stealer in the history of the major leagues, a guy by the name of Ty Cobb. Ty Cobb, we remember, as a fearless individual that always played to win. But do you know that Ty Cobb, he had what is called a stolen base percentage of 71%. In the same year that Cobb was recognized for his greatness, there was a man named Carey, and I'll guarantee you few people have ever heard of him. Carey had a stolen base percentage of 98%. Do Do you know he had 53 attempts? He was only caught twice, which meant he had 51 stolen bases. 51 stolen bases. Why is it we remember Cobb so well? Tell you why. It wasn't because Cobb was caught 38 times. 38 times Cobb was caught stealing second base, or third, or home. That's not why we remember Cobb. Cobb stole 96 bases. That's not why we remember Cobb. Someone has broken his record. Do you know why everyone remembers the great Ty Cobb? Is because he made 134 attempts. Was the razor's edge difference that Cobb was a better base stealer? Or was it because he made more attempts than this man carried? That was the real razor's edge difference. Now, I'm going to give you one simple little formula that will act as the razor's edge difference for you. Just one. That's all, just one. Then I want to cover the book, and we'll get into the last two lessons with Robert. Now, here it is. The common denominator of success. The very simple formula, not an easy one, but a very simple one. It works like this. A man wrote a marvelous little book, 20 pages, and he entitled it The Common Denominator of Success. And he said the common denominator of success in his business, your business, my business, any business, is in forming the habit of doing things that failures don't like to do. Now think about this. Failures, this individual is influenced in pleasing methods only, whereas this person, the success type individual, they're influenced by pleasing results only. They have formed the habit of doing things that this person does not like to do. Think about it. Are you influenced by pleasing results? Or are you influenced by pleasing what is called methods? What are you influenced by? Are you influenced by where you're going? Or are you influenced in defending where you are? Because the razor's edge difference could be just one simple action that you do every single day. The 6 most important things that are going to move you in the direction of your goal. And that's basically what it comes down to. Let's look at this and see what we come up with on page 53, because we promised we'd get you out of here by 5 o'clock. It says you are likely 1 inch, 1 step, 1 idea away from turning on to the boulevard of beauty in your life. It has often been said that that line which separates winning from losing is as fine as a razor's edge, and it really is. Somerset Maugham wrote an entire book entitled A Razor's Edge, and Darryl F. Zanuck spent $4 million producing a movie which had the same title. Both of these great people, author and movie maker alike, knew there wasn't a big difference among people. There was only a difference in the things that they accomplished. And that was the theme of the movie as well as the book. One person just about starts a project. Well, are you one that just about starts it? Or are you the person that actually gets it started and completes it? One individual almost completes a task, but the other completes it. One student nearly passes the exam, the other person passes it. And although the difference in their marks may be only 1 percentage point out of 100, it is that 1 percentage point that makes all the difference in the world. Now turn the page. Now, you could spend some time reading page 54. But you see, the whole idea is not in what you read on 54, not what you read in Born Rich, not what you listen to from the tape in Born Rich. The difference is whether or not you are prepared to write out a list of actions that are razor edge activities and then make a commitment to do them. Remember yesterday I mentioned the word excellence? Excellence is that fine line. It is only a commitment to completion. That's all excellence means. It's a commitment to completion. So you see, it doesn't matter how many books you read. It doesn't matter how many seminars you go to, how many tapes you hear, how many experiences you've had. The difference is you know what you have to do. There isn't one person in here that cannot intellectually comprehend what it is they have to do and write it down as a razor's edge activity. As a razor's edge activity. Anytime that I mention this 9 o'clock idea, 9 a.m. idea that I just want to share with you for a moment, and I look at a guy up there named Grant Sylvester. He knows it as well as anybody. But I can remember when earlier on, about 18 years ago, Bob would talk about the 9 a.m. call. In other words, about being in front of people at 9 a.m. every day. And you know, I tried that one time. And they say that trying is failure with honor. But I didn't try it. I made a commitment it was going to work. There's a big difference. And you know, I couldn't begin to tell you some of the rewards that I've enjoyed from that razor's edge activity just by getting started maybe an hour early. Do you know that if you start something an hour early, or if you work an hour later, do you know that's 9 40-hour weeks that you enjoy each additional year? Just one more hour is a razor's edge activity that'll give you 9 40-hour weeks of productivity in your life, no matter what area of your life you're talking about. When are you going to do something about it? When are you going to sit down, take this page 55, and actually list some things that you are definitely going to do, which are relatively simple things. And again, they're not easy. Anybody that ever tells us something is easy, they say that because they don't do it. There isn't anything that's easy. You know, it's interesting how last night you look on the dugout and they're talking about where is Kurt Gibson? Obviously, he's not dressed tonight. A number of years ago in Michigan, Kurt Gibson was having problems hitting left-handed pitchers because he's a left-handed hitter. And he was having such a hard time that he actually went and he took a course on visualization because it was affecting how he hit right-handed pitchers. Let me tell you what happened. Not only did he start hammering right-handed and left-handed pitchers, but last night what you experienced was a man who made a decision and who made a commitment to completion. He come out there in 2 gimpy legs in pain. He had a hard time running around the bases. But did you notice that in pain he was in joy? Did you notice in pain he was in happiness? Did you notice in pain he was in victory? Did you notice in pain that he was a winner? He knows the difference as far as the razor's edge is concerned. I don't know if he knows how to verbalize it, but I can tell you this. He knows how to act on it. He knows how to act on it. He could have said, Tommy, I don't feel good enough to go. Tommy, I don't think I can make it. Tommy, you should use someone else. No, he said, Tommy, I'm available when you need me. When the reporters asked him, why would you even think of playing with such pain and such injuries? He looked at the reporter and he said, have you ever played baseball? So what is the razor's edge activity for you? On page 56, just to complete this, if you're employed in a sales capacity, consider the dynamic sales presentation which you could be developing in a month or two. If you simulated a sales presentation with an imaginary prospect or possibly one of your associates every day for 1 hour, imagine what would happen if you practice your craft every day. Imagine what would happen if you practice your craft as a parent, if you practice your craft in your profession, if you practice your craft in your family life, in your personal life, and with your friends. Can you imagine what would happen? Well, you see, if you're only going to try it for a week, I want to tell you now, don't do it because the frustration will be worse than ever. If you're going to try it for 2 weeks, maybe. But if you want it to really work, I'll tell you this. You give the next 90 days of your life, the very best you've got, and I'll guarantee you one thing, life will give you everything you want for the rest of your life. 90 days. I could go through this, and at the bottom, it's asking you to make a commitment. I'm going to suggest that sometime this week, and you know, tomorrow you're going to be very tired. But I'm going to suggest tomorrow, just give some thought to what we were covering today in the Razor's Edge, because the difference is action, the difference is activity, the difference is doing. The difference is really doing. And then you make a commitment on what you're going to do with this page. And don't allow others, don't allow events to control your activity. Don't allow that. I kind of like, you know, the guy who was walking back and forth in front of the bed on a Sunday night, and his wife said, "Are you ever going to come to bed? It's midnight." He said, "I can't." So why not? He said, "I'm having a problem." He said, "The mortgage is due tomorrow. We have no money in the bank." She said, "Isn't that so-and-so down the street where our bank manager lives? Isn't that the bank we deal with? Isn't he the manager?" So that's right. Went over, she picked up the phone, she called him. She had a few words and hung up the phone. She said, "Now, will you get into bed?" He said, "What did you do?" He said, "I just called the bank manager and let him know that you can't make the mortgage payment tomorrow. He'll be up all night worrying about it. You get to bed." Excellence is a commitment to completion, and that's the difference in the Razor's Edge activities you're going to get involved in to really make this program work for you.
And I'm
All right. The Razor's Edge. There is a fine line between commitment and completion. The notes I have here, key points, the most successful people, rewind it, the most successful people are the ones who fail the most. Think about it. How do we get anything done? We end up failing our way to success. You know, a rocket doesn't get to its destination by just shooting a straight line and getting there. It's constantly failing. It's moving off, correcting. It fails its way to success. So this Razor's Edge that John was talking about, and he gave the story with Ivy Lee. Now, Ivy Lee, that took place in 1918. So this would put it into perspective a little bit on how much this idea was worth. And there's people over the years that I have met, talked with, been on calls with, and it's amazing that a lot of these people have used this idea, and this is responsible for their success. I'm talking about people that earn millions and millions of dollars. So put this exercise to your daily habits. Like I said, 1918 was when that story took place with Ivy Lee, who was already a fairly successful, he was a journalist, worked with a lot of big people back then. And $25,000 was what Schwab gave Ivy Lee for the idea, saying it was the most profitable that he had from a business standpoint that he had ever learned. Now, let's put it into perspective in today's dollars. $25,000 in 1918 is the equivalent of just over $500,000 today. That's how valuable that lesson was. People call it the $25,000 idea. Well, if we really wanted to look at it, we could call it the $500,000 idea. So that is something that you really should put to work in your life, and it will get you so much more productive. Bob tells a story of meeting with Earl Nightingale one time. They were doing a conference, seminar or something, and Earl asked if Bob wanted to meet him for breakfast. And Bob said, you know, he never missed a chance for something like that. And he always had a list of questions prepared and ready to go at any time that he was able to have some one-on-one time with Earl. And so as they were eating breakfast, he said, he asked Earl, he said, Earl, how did you manage to master time management? And he said, Earl dropped his fork and looked up and kind of looked at him, kind of chuckled and said, I never mastered time management. Time can't be managed. I merely manage my activities. And then he told Bob about this story. He said he makes a list of his income producing activities, the things that are most important, and he starts with number one, and he doesn't look at any of the other ones until it's done. And when it's done, he crosses it off, and he carries a 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, and he folds it 3 times, and then he always has that in his pocket. And that's something that Bob adopted. And I've seen Bob many times on the stage talk about this and take out that paper and show everybody. Now, the first time I learned this, I was immediately took back to when I used to work in the film industry, when I was living in California and I was an assistant director. And I used to get a lot of stuff done. I didn't know what I was doing, but I used to carry a little notepad because I had so many different things that had to be done during the day, and things would come at a moment's notice. I would get a call on the radio from the first assistant director or from the producer or whoever it might have been, the unit production manager. We need this, we need it. There's no way that I could keep track of it. So I was constantly writing stuff down, and when I would finish it, I would cross it off and I would put numbers. And I look back about how much stuff I used to get done and how effective I was. So get yourself a little pad like this, or a little pad like this. You can use it on your phone. Now I use this, and it's fitting because I made it a slate board, which we have over here. This is my action, my income producing activities. And then on here I have 4, 14, and 7, which are the key chapters in the science of getting rich, to really put those ideas into effect. And the idea is every night before you go to bed, you write down the 5 or the 6 most important activities you need to get done the next day. And these should be income producing activities. These aren't things like do the laundry, go shopping. On here, I do have that. I have, get to a blank page here towards the end. On here, I have my ideas that go here, and then over here are personal ones that I have. So I still have everything written down. And then you start on that most important idea and you work at it till it's done. Now, there's certain days where you don't even get that done, or maybe you only get one thing done. You don't worry about the other ones. They transfer to the next day. And then you cross everything off and you move on to the next day. Now, you can do it on your phone, but there's something about putting pen to paper, because as we write and we think, it creates an image in the mind. And there's something satisfying about crossing that off. A lot of times I'll take a different color pen and I'll cross off the things that I do. I remember listening to a marketer, Alex Mandozian. He uses this method, and what he likes to do is he uses a pad of paper like this. And then when he's done, he likes to physically cross everything off, rip the paper off and crumble it up and throw it away. And that gives him a satisfaction of completion, a feeling of completion. So do it whatever way you want. Just do it. Start writing down those things that are most important, those things you've been putting off. And I guarantee you, if you build that into a habit, it's going to change your life. Absolutely no question about it. So that is all the time that I am going to take today. We will be back tomorrow with, let's see, session 19. Do I have it here? I don't think I do. Oh, yes, I do. Section 19 is the do not think in reverse. And then one session after that, I could have just looked here. No, tomorrow is the last session, because the last segment is the torchbearers, and it's more of a Bob thanking everybody for the seminar, and he pulls the company down and he acknowledges and thanks a lot of the people. And that's something that really isn't necessary to the lessons that we're learning here. So tomorrow is the last day, which is thinking in reverse. So this has been a great session. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Share, like, subscribe to the channel. I got a lot more stuff coming on like this. Bring somebody with you tomorrow, colleague, a friend, someone that needs this information. Bring them to the Daily Dose of Mind stuff, and we'll finish off with this Born Rich. Go back, watch these again. I've set it up in this way where they're done in sessions where they're not super long. Some of them being the longest is about an hour. But it's that repetition, like I keep saying, it's the repetition of these ideas. They're going to have a huge impact on your life. So with that, I'm going to say goodbye. I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a great, wonderful rest of the day. Before you go to bed tonight, write your list of income-producing activities for you to do tomorrow. And then when you wake up, get to work. Wake up knowing you already know what you're going to do that day. You don't have to think about it. You can jump out, get into action, and you can get on that other side of the razor's edge. This is Ed Reiner. Peace. God bless.